A very warm welcome to all the viewers today here. Yet again, an enriching session of Tea Life with us. So before we start, I'm the host for the day today, Pramila Mundra. I've got Masters in Food Science and Nutrition and have been practicing as a nutritionist for the last 20 years in Bangalore. I'm also a D Life member and enrolled in the specialized low carb course. For all those watching today's program, we would like to say that all information shared here would be treated not as a medical advice. Anybody who looks at changing a specific meal plan with major changes, we would advise them to consult a low carb nutritionist or a doctor first. There are no financials attached to this session. All the podcast series are free of cost with a basic intention to disseminate genuine information. Now, more about D Life, which is an awesome community. It is one of the largest growing keto and low carb community in India. It's founded by D Life, and D Life has been founded by Anup Singh, an engineer from IIT. Very interesting. And it is an awesome resource for anybody who is suffering from long-term diseases like diabetes, PCOS, hypertension, metabolic syndrome, PCOS, and much more. The most wonderful thing about D Life is they already have 250 successful health transformation already. So most of the transformation stories are talked about and discussed in the forum regularly. Moreover, they also have 1,200 low carb recipes, which are tried and tested. What more could you ask for? Recently, Anup Singh and D Life were awarded with the Icons of India Award for their pioneering work in low carb in India. Now, it's a pleasure for me to welcome the guest for the day, Ms. Mehak Lokhandwala. Interestingly, she's a jewelry designer residing in Mumbai. She stays there with her family and is blessed with a 13-year-old daughter. She had a very bad experience with her personal health around 2018. And then she approached a doctor where with the medication suggested, her health actually worsened more. And she had a very tough time for the next 1 year. She used to struggle with really bad health. But by God's grace, she came in touch with good mentors and finally with good food and exercise habit. That was the major change, which she claims has helped her to heal and reclaim her health. Let's hear her story directly from Mehak. And interestingly, she's been so influenced that she's entered the space of nutrition and food to transform others' lives, the way she has transformed her own health. Mehak, a very warm welcome to the session today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pramila ma'am. Thank you, Shashi sir, Anup sir, for giving me this opportunity to be on this wide platform to discuss my health issues and from my own experience to help people, which I have been trying to do through food and nutrition, through exercise. So basically, it's all about the mistakes that I made in my health during my health journey. And that is what I want people to learn from.
Agree, totally agree. So it's really interesting that you started off as a jewelry designer, but you've entered the the field of health and nutrition in a very active way. What was the time or what exactly point which helped you to do this transition?
So let me take you a little in flashback where I got married at the age of 23, very young at that time. And as you would know how a 23-year-old would be, very enthused about life, eating and drinking and enjoying life. And it was just me and my husband. So in our 5 years of marriage, the first 5 years, we've probably eaten and drank everything possible on planet Earth, right? Never worried about health or never worried about weight gain and stuff like that. Well, obviously at that time, your metabolism is very good and body is responding very well.
Right.
But it then started to come into notice when I wanted to have a family. So when we planned to have a baby, I happened to visit a couple of gynacs just to get a little understanding of how we should do, how we should plan a child. And that's when I discovered that I was a PCOD. So this was way back in the year 2002, I guess. And yes, when the doctor at that point looked at my diet and my lifestyle, it was pretty erratic. So erratic that she was amazed. I used to drink 3 to 4 cokes in a day with piles of rice, tons of rice. So that was actually the way I used to eat. If I had to show you those pictures, you'll be amazed now. But yes, so the one advice that she gave me was just get to exercise, cut off your junk, all of these things, and things will happen. And I still did not listen. I still went against it and still kept doing the same things over and over again. Finally, it came to a point that I had to go through 2 IUI sessions for conception. And unfortunately, both those 2 treatments failed. And when age starts catching up, and then you have family pressure, "Arey, bachcha nahi ho raha hai," and stuff like that. So around 2006, 7 is when again I visited the doctor, and she said, "You have to change your lifestyle. You have to change your food habits if you really want to get this done seriously." And that's when I started to exercise and stuff. And by the grace of God, my periods got normal because I started eating very well. I conceived in 2008, and today I have a 13-year-old daughter. My baby was conceived naturally without any treatment, but it was purely because of my diet and lifestyle.
Okay, so what were the major changes which you made when you said that you started eating good and exercise? Yes. So what are the things which you gave away, and what are the things which you included?
So yes, at that point of time, it was mainly giving up on sugar. The main culprit was sugar. So giving up on all processed foods, junk beverages, fast foods, because since I lived in the US for about 6 years with my husband, we were so succumbed to eating fast food every other day because there would be no time to cook. So we'd be just eating whatever was on the go. A lot of trans fats. I started cooking at home and stuff like that. And that's how those are the little changes. Although at that point, I did not have any idea about nutrition, zero idea, just did what I could Google and get. So even that little change today has given me my child. So once that was done, and my daughter started growing up, we moved to India. And then that's when I got into fitness, as in just doing exercise, regular exercises. My food was still the same that I was eating earlier, that I changed my lifestyle. But then, when you come into a joint family in India, it is like, acha ye bhi kha lo, wo bhi kha lo, how it is with parents and grandparents around. So again, my lifestyle became very sedentary, became like all those junk foods started coming back in. And by that time, I was already up 30s. Okay. And I continued that kind of a life all the way till 2016 or 17. I was gaining weight tremendously, exercising 2 hours every day, but not seeing any result through exercise. So I would drink a Gatorade in the morning and go to the gym, eat a methi paratha, aloo paratha, and go to the gym, eat sugar. I drink chai with sugar 3 times a day and go to the gym. No difference. So it just went on and on and on. And until it was around a point where I said, "Boss, now my clothes don't even fit." So that's when I started to take exercise a little more seriously. And I very well remember in the year 2018, when I went to Singapore, if I had to share those pictures, they look horrific. I looked obese. Yeah. So when I came back from Singapore, and when I was in that holiday, I remember eating Subway 3 times a day because there was no other food available that we could, as Indians, eat. So we lived on Subway for 7 days. And I remember I came back and I was looking horrific. So I met a couple of friends in the gym, and they would never take a pre-drink, a pre-workout drink or stuff like that. And I always asked them, "Why don't you take something before your workout? How are you going to work out without some kind of energy?" And they said, "No, Mehak, we are doing intermittent fasting." So 2 or 3 people I heard saying about intermittent fasting, and I said, "What is this kind of a starvation you people are doing?" So they said, "No, it's not a starvation. Understand, it is just a time restricted eating window. I said, how can it be time restricted? You need energy before a workout, right? That's the conventional wisdom we've all been given. So I
Right.
said, okay, let me do this. Let me give it a try. Even if it's a fad, it will work for a few days, right?
Right.
And I started doing that. But at the beginning of that intermittent fasting period, it was so tough for me. I was so cranky simply because I was so addicted to carbohydrate. I couldn't leave roti, chawal,
Right.
sports drinks, khajur, fruits. So there were days where I could barely fast for 12 hours. I am somebody who eats a biryani at 4 a.m. if
Wow.
I'm hungry. Yes, I can do that. To come out of that, it was more of a mental trauma for me. But somehow I kept myself engaged with friends who were doing the same thing, my mentors. And 2018 September, when I started, roundabout in January 2019, I lost tremendous amount of weight, almost like 6 to 7 kg. So I was wearing a L. I came straight down to an M. So that was what put me into this all the more. And I told my husband, why don't you try this? But he says, you know what? You're stupid. You're dumb. You're doing all these fad things. And it's going to just counteract on you again. And I said, no, I'm going to still give it a try. So I continued doing it until the month of March in 2019. And in our community, every year we have this health checkup where we are availing for health checkup at a discounted price.
Yeah.
So I remember signing up for that health checkup because I was very excited. I was like, oh my God, my weight has gone off and I'm sure everything is going to be fine and my markers are going to look good.
Mhm.
And I remember going to the doctor and all my reports, all my physical reports came out perfect. There was just one red flag on my report which said that your LDL is high. And at that point, I did not know what LDL was, what was cholesterol. I did
Mm.
not know anything. I just followed intermittent fasting from Google and I followed intermittent fasting from books, which said you need to keep your grains and sugars and refined sugars out. So that's exactly what I did. And of course, increase your fat, your cheese, your butter and ghee. And that's what I did. When the LDL level showed me a range of 150 cutoff, my LDL showed 163. So I remember when I went to collect my reports, the receptionist told me that you will need to see a heart surgeon, a cardiologist. And I said, what is the reason? She says, your LDL is showing high. And that really scared me. So at that point, I was a lame person. I did not know anything about medicine or about medical history. So I said, okay, I'll take an appointment. When I took the appointment, I will not name the doctor right now,
Yes.
but he freaked out. He just freaked out. He said, what is it that you're doing? You're eating all garbage food. You're eating very high fat food. And he asked me what I was eating. And he said, you need to stop this intermittent fasting right now. You need to exercise more. You need to cut off your calories. And I was just going blank because I had no idea what was happening and what is it that was going wrong and what is the meaning of LDL.
Mm.
Unfortunately, at that point, I did not have the courage to even question the doctor that what is the meaning of an LDL? What does it do? He said, I'm going to put you on a medication. And he put me on a Rosawell. I do not remember the name, ma'am, very clearly as of right now. It was a 5 mg statin
Mm.
that he put me on. And I remember that night I came home and I started Googling about what is a statin, what does it do, what does it help in. And all the results I got were saying that you have to take a statin if your cholesterol is showing high, else it's going to be a risk for your life. And that's exactly what the doctor told me. You cannot leave this medication for your life. You have to continue taking this. And I said, okay, if you say so, that's going to be the last word. So I started taking the statin. I used to regularly go to the gym and I was still continuing my intermittent fasting, eating the same high fat foods. Now, after a couple of weeks, so at that point, I used to visit my store every day. I had a jewelry store in Bandra, and I was the sole person who was taking care of the store. So I had to be there morning to night. Couple of days passed, and I realized I'm not able to see well. So my husband's like, okay, you're over 40 now. Things are going to change. So you need glasses and stuff. So I got reading glasses. It continued. There were times when I would be making a neck piece and I would just drop it and I would start making something else. So I would switch between things. Suddenly I'm doing something and now I'll be doing something else. I got very rude with my clients. I became very aggressive in my behavior. And these things continued. Coming to exercise, I stopped going to the gym. I would wake up in the morning and I would not want to get out of bed. I would get ready also. Literally, there were days I had got ready to go to the gym and I would go sleep back. There was no energy. Couple of days passed off. I again weighed myself, like how we all do it every other day. We want to weigh ourselves to see if we have lost weight. I had started to gain weight. And at the end of around July, I had gained 16 kgs. So from the period of March, April, May, June, and July, I was continuously on statins. My brain was like as if there is, somebody has caught my brain and I'm not able to think. I couldn't see well. I was very foggy. I was very irritable. My husband would tell me, "You've got your period 365 days of the year. I don't know what is wrong with you." And that's when I happened to meet one of my mentors in the gym. And he came up to me and he said, "Meg, why have you not been coming to the gym? You used to be so regular." And I said, "Sir, you know what? I just don't feel like, I don't want to do anything." He's like, "You've gained so much weight. What is it that you're doing? What are you eating? Why did you leave intermittent fasting?" I said, "Sir, you know what? I'm taking this one medication that the doctor has given me. And it says it's a statin and I'm supposed to take it for cholesterol." And that's when he freaked out and he said, "Can I see your reports?" And when I showed him my reports, he said, "Your cutoff is 150. You have just crossed 163. There is no danger in your cholesterol." That is when he sat with me and he showed me a couple of videos on cholesterol. What is the use of cholesterol in our body? How does it help in neurotransmission and in fat cell membrane generation? He taught me everything in and out about cholesterol. And that is the day I remember I promised him, I said, "Sir, I'm going to throw this medication." He said, "If you don't discard this medicine, you are going to die." And it really, really came to me as a shock because every symptom that I told him I was facing, he named it to me and I could tick mark it. So he told me, "I'm going to tell you the symptoms and you're going to tick mark and tell me." And all nine of them were perfect, exactly what I was feeling. I came home on June 16th and I remember I thrashed that whole strip. I had bought the brand new strip and I thrashed it. I made my mother sit down. I made my husband and my daughter sit. And I said, "I'm not going to take this medicine. I don't know what it does. I don't even know what are the repercussions of this. But whatever the repercussions are, I am going to face this." Because I was looking insane. I was thinking insane. I was becoming an insane person. This is what that statin did to me. And it's been July 2019, and today we are in December 2021. I'm 18 kgs down, exercising, lifting, double my body weight, doing a 1 meal a day on a fatty protein diet. And I don't even care what my cholesterol levels are because I know how important cholesterol is. I learned it in the last 2 years. So that's been my
I
journey.
think that is a very popular myth with Indians. I think as soon as they
Yes,
see
ma'am.
the cholesterol levels go, and I think unfortunately, the doctors add to the worry instead of guiding the right way.
Yes, ma'am. It was surprising that the doctor never mentioned about any kind of food that I should take, or he just blindly just wrote me that statin and he said, "You have to take this." Yes, I remember he told me no butter, no ghee, no olive oil, no coconuts. He has strictly put me off all of those things. Fruits, he had advised me to take. You can take fruits, but no fruit juices. But
Yeah.
yes, I remember he said no avocados, no coconut oil, no butter, no ghee at all.
So basically, all the healthy fats were cut.
Yes, ma'am, all the healthy fats were cut off. And that is the reason. So now, because I've studied it, I realized how important those fats were to my brain, to the functioning of the cell membranes, to sex hormones, and that cholesterol was being stopped because of the statin. So definitely I was being stopped the dietary cholesterol, and also the cholesterol which the liver makes on a day-to-day basis was also being cut off from the brain.
Right. So did you ever go back to the doctor after that?
No, ma'am, I never went back to the doctor.
Okay.
But I'll be very honest. I am very thankful to this doctor. Sometimes they say that God sends you certain angels to teach you in a certain way.
Right.
So in that way, I'm very, very thankful that this thing happened, that today I am learning about this and I'm able to help other people. Because every second person in India that today I come across through my program or through generally through Instagram are suffering from diabetes and cholesterol issues, more so of cholesterol issues. We
Right.
have to understand that cholesterol main concern is not your LDL, HDL. There are a lot of other factors that are involved in cholesterol, the sugar molecules that are attaching itself to cholesterol, things like all of that we need to understand, which we are ignoring, and we're just blaming cholesterol for being at the crime scene.
And it's interesting that you had been told to stop all the healthy fats, and in
Yes,
spite
ma'am.
of you were gaining a lot of weight then.
Yes, ma'am. That
So
is
that
what
is a
was
classic
worrying me.
example, yeah,
Yes,
of
ma'am.
which proves that actually healthy fats don't actually add to your weight.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that has been my propaganda right since the time I learned about this. And the myth that egg yolks are great for your health, that butter and ghee is what our ancestors ate. And that's the reason we are here today. Had they not eaten those healthy fats, we would not be here. Our
Correct.
brain size has grown from 300 to 1600 simply because of the butter and the ghee and the good fats that we have been eating through dietary cholesterol.
Agree. And what are your thoughts on proteins?
So yes, ma'am, protein is another huge myth that India is facing, another cause of why we have diabetes today.
Right.
The myth that protein is not good for you simply means you are not taking the essential food. So I always tell people there are two things in a human body, essential and non-essential. Right? Essential simply means you require it from food and your body cannot synthesize it, so you have to eat it. And the two things that fall in that category are going to be proteins and fats, healthy fats, and good quality proteins from eggs, fish, paneer, meat, all of those. What we are doing today is we are eating the non-essential, which means we are eating high carb, refined sugars, processed foods. These convert to sugars. All of this that converts to sugar, your body can produce for you. So basically, we are feeding on foods that are non-essential, and we are disregarding proteins and fats, which is an essential component for your structure and energy. And that is one of the reasons we are facing issues like cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, and especially diabetes. When people tell me, oh, uric acid is very high, protein, doctor ne bola protein band karo. And I explained to them, I said, boss, kidney damage is related to diabetes. Diabetes comes from sugar. Where does protein even come in the picture? If your uric acid is high, you are releasing protein out of your kidneys. It simply means your body requires more protein. Don't stop the protein. Protein builds everything in our body. From our hair to our toenail, we are built of protein. So another myth is that, oh, I don't exercise as much as you do, so why should I take so much protein?
Yes. I think
How does
it is also related to a lot of bodybuilding.
Yes, ma'am, that is another huge myth that only bodybuilders are supposed to eat protein. But we need to understand that protein has a lot of other functions besides only building your muscle. There is biochemical reactions, it acts as a messenger to your enzymes, it will balance your fluid.
Right.
And most importantly, protein and fats will give you the required glucose that is required by the body. So if you look at an standard Indian diet today, we are eating around 500 to 800 grams of carbohydrate per plate, literally.
Right.
And I asked people, I said, do you take sugar? And they said, no, we don't take sugar in our tea. And when I asked them their profile, they start their day with aloo paratha and end their night with a fruit. So I said, everything that you're eating in your profile, my friend, is converting to sugar. Body requires just 4 grams of sugar or glucose for survival. That too, your body is so kind enough, it will provide it to you through your fats and protein. So it will do the job of structure, it will do the job of providing energy through fats, and it will also do gluconeogenesis, that is making of the new glucose which is required by your red blood cells. Why are we stuffing our faces with so much of carbohydrate, inviting diabetes, and then blaming protein for it?
Yes, I think this is one of the biggest myths people around the world are facing, not only India.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. majorly due to this ingestion of high carbs. And I am okay with carbohydrates. You take the good vegetables, you take your clean carbs. It's not a problem. The problem is when you're ingesting so much of it along with processed foods, the way you take it. So they say, oh, meat is very bad, a burger is very bad. A burger is not bad, the meat is great. What are you taking with the meat is the bread, the French fries, and the soda.
True. So when we're just talking about the meat, I would like to know about your views on meat, because a lot of people consider meat as bad. And as you said,
Yes,
when people don't exercise, they also think that they shouldn't be eating too much of wheat. And
yes,
of
ma'am.
course, there is a huge vegan propaganda also going on.
Yes, ma'am. So yes, so if I have to say this, I would say it on screen. Veganism is a scam. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of trolling on this, but that's absolutely each to its own. We have science and research for it. The movie Game Changers has created this mess. But coming back to meat, so I always so people who tell me, oh, egg yolks and meat create a heart attack or clog your arteries, and my first question to them is, look at India's population. 70% of India is eating a vegetarian diet. There are hardly any that eat meat. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is, are you telling me that vegetarians don't get a heart attack? They do.
Right.
They do get a heart attack, and the reason they get it. So are you saying it's meat? No, they don't eat meat. They don't even eat egg yolks. They
Right.
eat things that it's converting to sugar, that is attaching itself to that cholesterol molecule that's doing its job of transportation. You blaming the cholesterol for clogging your artery, it's absolutely wrong. Cholesterol is just doing its job of transporting nutrients from cell to cell. What is bothering that cholesterol is the sugars that you are adding with it, which is attaching itself. So meat is not the problem. Our ancestors have grown and thrived on meat. They were always hunter-gatherers. Two and
Right.
a half million years ago, we've been eating only meat. So the introduction of grains and refined foods have only come in last 12,000 years ago. And 12,000 years is a very small fraction of a number against 2.5 million years ago. So I always tell people, why is it that if you are not eating meat, why is diabetes rising in India or in the nation?
Right.
Cardiovascular disease. Why are we fighting these on an every single day basis? Why? Cancer. Cancer used to be so rare. One in a few you will hear have cancer. Now every other household has got one patient of cancer, 3 patients of diabetes. It simply goes to show that our human physiology is not supporting what we are eating today. We are definitely doing something wrong that we are not supposed to. And that is the reason this body is fighting and telling you through disease and weight gain, you are messing up. So that's always been my motto, to tell people, whatever diet you have chosen or lifestyle you are choosing, analyze it, question it, question your doctor, question your nutritionist. So many people just come to me with a diet plan. Oh, this nutritionist gave me this diet plan to eat 8 meals a day. I said, perfect, you got this diet plan. Now you tell me, if the nutritionist says eat almonds at 10 a.m. in the morning, are you really hungry at 10 a.m. in the morning? If you're not, and you're going to go with this diet paper, what is your body going to do? Whatever your body is not going to use, it's going to store it. So again, you are going against the physiology of your body, the way your body works, and then you say the diet did not work. You need to question, why am I being told to eat this? Why am I being given these medications? This is a very big, information that I want to give out to viewers who just blindly believe the white coat. I am not against doctors. I am not against medicine. I am not against nutritionists. All I'm saying is question, so you get educated on that, and then you apply and see how it works.
True, very true. I think questioning is very important. And
Yes, ma'am.
with your own case, as you said, that when the doctor had put you on medication, we sometimes don't have the courage to question the doctor.
Correct, ma'am. Correct, ma'am.
Which is very, very important today.
Yes, ma'am. I have seen people who are on statins for 40 years, and I will give you another example of this. That is my mother. So my mother has been a diabetic patient for I think over 30 years now that she's been going to this diabetologist. And I remember when my transformation was happening and I was trying to change my oils. So I was switching out of refined oils, coming into coconut oil and ghee. And I'm sure everybody will agree to this. Our older generation want to keep things the way they want to keep it for years. So
Right.
if, let's say, her parents have been eating a certain way with certain oils, they've continued it. Now, when I came into the picture, and I remember one day she came to me and I asked her, I said, where did you go? And she said, I went to my diabetes doctor. Every month I go to her and I get a checkup done. And I said, yeah, what did she say? So she showed me her reports and she says, she told me कि आपको सब कुछ खाना है. You can enjoy all your food, your roti, chawal, everything. And you can also add these protein-rich biscuits, which are threptin, which are high in protein. Okay. The reason I'm bringing this topic out, ma'am, along with my transformation, is because there is a huge amount of people that are suffering this, especially in the old age, and have just been listening to these doctors and just doing it blindly. So a little light I'd like to put, especially for them, for the senior citizens. So my mother was given Treptin to eat. And when she showed me the reports, I saw her reports. Her numbers were pretty in the normal range for her blood glucose. She's been taking Glycomet for the past 30 years, 3 times a day and stuff. And I told her, I said, your doctor has written you can eat everything and you have not to stop this medication. And at that point, I had already stopped my statin. I had just taken the step to stop my statin. So I told her, don't you want to stop this medicine? How many years have you been eating it? She says, no, 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 I have to eat it like this. She has said I have to eat it this way. I cannot make changes to this. So I said, why don't we do one thing? Let me study a little bit more about diabetes. What is the actual reason, the cause? Maybe you can try what I am trying to eat and then see if maybe it might help you, because everything up here in your foods is sugar. You're eating rice, chapati, and she's been told to eat every 2 hours. My mother was told to eat from the moment she wakes up to the moment she sleeps.
Whoa.
Yes, so my mother was eating khajur the first thing in the morning before going for a walk, and the last thing she would eat in the night is a fruit. Post dinner, if hungry. Yes, ma'am. 73-year-old.
Yeah.
I remember I
Obviously,
said,
she would, yeah. So obviously, she would need medication 3 times a day then.
yes, ma'am. She was taking everything possible on earth, from safe puri to ice cream to everything. Now added the Treptin biscuits to it. And I remember I said, let's try this. And when I started to make changes in the oil, that was the first fight we had. And she said, मुझे तो ये coconut oil जरा भी पसंद नहीं है, because इसमें तो कोई taste नहीं है. And there's no, that we need all that proper oil forming on our curries and on our gravies. And I like to enjoy that with my rice and stuff. And then she started fighting with me that, what is your problem? My blood sugar number is perfect. So with a lot of, push and fights, and I tried to explain to her and I said, just let's try it. I started to bring her from 8 meals to 5 meals and then to 3 meals. And she saw a tremendous amount of energy because I cut the carbs off. Now, when I say I cut the carbs, I actually replaced the carbs. So I had already started doing my research on diabetes. I started reading Jason Funk's diabetes code. I had started reading obesity codes. I was trying to get info from there. And with my own transformation, I was trying to help her out. So making all those changes, I remember after 8 months, she went back to the diabetologist, and the diabetologist reduced her glycomet from 3 to 2. And when the doctor asked her, what is it that you're doing? My mother said, nothing. I'm eating exactly the way you are telling me. I am just increased my exercise activity. And I told her, I said, you are not going to mention to the doctor what you are doing.
Right.
And today, my mother is 74. She is on a fatty protein diet. She eats 2 meals in a day. No fruit, no junk, no carbohydrate. Happy at 74. She cleans her own windows. She cleans her own fans. No energy loss. And exercises every single day.
Yeah. So I think these
and she has stopped her cholesterol medication also.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, wonderful. I think these are all probably motivating and real life stories that,
Yes,
at any age, consider food as medicine, I think any time of our age, we can actually heal back and reclaim our health.
Yes, ma'am. Only if we go back to understand what our foods do. So I always tell people, when somebody gives you a diet, or even if I have to tell you to eat something a certain way, don't blindly follow me. Ask, question. Only if I can give you an answer, it means I know it personally.
Right. True. Knowledge is very important while planning.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And application of knowledge. It's very easy for me to give you a guidance and say, okay, go ahead and do this. But if I'm not applying it on myself, it really doesn't make sense. So everything I did in my entire journey of these 3 years, I applied it on myself, on my husband. My husband's case is another peculiar case of acidity, which we see very common in India, high acidity. So the doctors also said, and nutritionists also said, that you have to keep eating every 2 hours, otherwise you will get acidity. Kuch to khana hai. So that is another myth I broke with my husband's case. A highly acidic person, he is a person who needs a Zantac or a Pepcid with every single meal for the last 40 years.
Wow.
There is no meal that man has taken without a Zantac or a Pepcid. No meal. It can be protein, fat, or carbs. It doesn't matter. The Pepcid has to go in. And I remember he was 93 kgs when he has touched his very high of 93 kgs. He's 6'1". And I told him, I said, listen, you're either going to die or then you're going to go into the old age, because this is going way beyond. Your exercise is not helping. There's got to be something that you need to put into action. And he said, oh, you're just doing all your fat diet. And I said, no, I have been doing intermittent fasting. I have changed the quality of my meals in spite of defying my doctor. I'm doing it. And you were seeing the results. And that's when he started. I said, just try it. Just try it. Give it a try. It's been 3 years, ma'am. That man has not taken even one single Pepcid or a Zantac. He's strictly on a 1 meal a day or a 2 meal a day with fat and protein. It's completely carnivore. No acidity, no feeling of hunger pangs, energy at his highest. Current weight is 73 kgs. From a 93, he has come to 73.
Wow.
And maintained it with very high muscle mass, again lifting double his body weight. So huge myth about food being connected to, about exercise being connected to weight loss. Exercise is fantastic. It's great. It's like brushing your teeth every day. Just don't expect to lose weight, because not exercising never made you gain the weight. So please focus on the food, focus on the quality of the food. Another myth that comes in with food here is quantity. We are constantly weighing our food.
True. Yeah, either calorie calculating or weighing, and it is very, very complex to follow daily.
Yes, it is very complex. It is very frustrating. There are days people come up to me, oh, I put on 3 kgs. I just ask them, what did you eat in the last 3 days? We've had soda, we've had Chinese, we've got our periods. And I said, your weight is going to go up. Why are you obsessed with that weighing scale? The weighing scale is a gravitational pull of your entire unit, your body, on the ground. That is all your weight does. Understand how your body functions on hormones. When you take in fats, your insulin doesn't rise. You take in protein, it will rise moderately. You take in carbohydrates, it will spike. It's going to go into storage. The one hormone that we've not been given much information through doctors and nutritionists is about insulin. Insulin is only being connected with diabetes. It is not only connected with diabetes, it is connected with every human being that is eating food, every human species.
True. Even for most of the testing, I think for fasting insulin, a lot of labs are even unaware about fasting insulin.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So so fasting glucose and postprandial glucose have been the most common ones, but insulin resistance, that is your cells not responding to insulin, is something that occurs way much ahead. So you will be insulin resistant for a very long period of time, but you will not realize it until it really hits those numbers.
Right.
But my point is, why are we waiting to hit those numbers? So a lot of children today are being shown as insulin resistant with a lot of symptoms, patches on their neck, armpits, and cranky behaviors, specs at a very early age. Parents are not paying attention to these signs. these are signs of insulin resistance. We have to take this into consideration much before we look at glucose numbers.
True, true, agree. I think they shouldn't ignore any of the warning signs.
Yes, ma'am.
You were mentioning about carnivore diet when you talked about your husband's food.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
would like to know a little more about that. So what are the things we need to follow if somebody who would like to do a carnivore diet?
So, ma'am, a carnivore diet, if you also have read, it is an ancestral diet. It's basically eating meat, getting your nutrition from fatty protein and meat and eggs. So we did not actually jump into a carnivore diet. It's been something that I have read over the last 2 years about, but the progression has always been from a low carb to a keto, and then I have progressed into a carnivore diet. So how I started was when I was eating 8 meals a day. Of course, it was full of carbs also at that point, but I was still trying to restrict my feeding window in an 8 to 9 hours.
Yes.
So I was trying to do intermittent fasting for 16 hours and keeping the eating window for 8 to 9 hours, yet including the grains. For a couple of months, I did see a stagnant weight. Then when I started to replace my grains and other processed foods with things like eggs and more fish, more proteins, I started to see the weight loss happen. Yet I needed fiber. At that point, fiber was very important for me to pass stools, to make sure my gut was clean. And
Yes.
fiber is another myth. We can have another discussion on that. So coming into keto, I was trying to cut off all those carbs also from vegetables and stuff. So I came into 30% of maybe good veggies in my plate with 70% of high fat, cheese, meats and stuff. Even at that point, I required that fiber because I was still getting constipated for a day or two. I would still eat ice creams at that point outside once in a while. And I was very curious about what is this ancestral diet? What does it mean? Why is it so difficult to do? So at that point, I didn't have much information through books, but when I started to buy books on carnivore diet, and it was only now in the month of May 2021 that I bought the book Carnivore Code by Paul Saladino, and he is a strict carnivore. So that's where I learned about how our ancestors have survived eating meat through hunting and gathering things like berries or maybe honey. These were things that they would eat as desserts. Now, today, if you look at our kind of meals, we are eating dessert in every form.
Right.
And at every hour, after every meal, we're being loaded with fruits which are GMO, genetically modified, and we've got pesticides, and we're eating fruits that are typically sweet all throughout the year.
Right.
So that is another myth. Now, as I was still doing this, my gut probably was not supporting me to go on a complete meat-based diet. That is a complete carnivore, because I was still getting constipated. That's when I started to realize that I need to still get the sugars out and out. So when people say, fiber is very important and how are you surviving on a carnivore diet? Well, the easiest thing I would explain to you is your gut, your tract is like a pipe, right? Now, in that pipe, there is a clogging which happens around it. This clogging happens because of your trans fats, your sugars, refined carbs, all of that junk that you're eating. Now, when that has clogged, obviously, whatever you're going to eat as food is going to get tough to come out as waste. So, hence, to clear that or to push that through, you do need fiber. Other than that, fiber is of no requirement in a human diet. We have no enzyme to digest fiber. Coming to a carnivore diet, how did I survive on a carnivore diet? I stopped basically eating any forms of sugar or anything that kind of clogs that gut. So the moment you start clearing this gut, you don't need any external fiber now. Now, if you're on a carnivore diet, that is complete meat-based diet, you're still going to go to the restroom every single day. And I have been doing that every single day right since the month of May till today.
Okay. Another concern with a lot of people in carnivore diet is the vitamins and minerals.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
how do you take care of that?
So if you are eating animal meat, animal have basically all the vitamins and the minerals, especially organ meat. So your brain, kidney, liver, if you are eating these kind of organ meats, all your vitamins and minerals get absorbed from animal meat. There is actually no requirement for supplements externally. So slowly, I started removing vitamin C. I have removed vitamin E from my supplements. I'm just taking fish oil right now and vitamin D because again, not too much of sunlight.
Right.
Vitamin D, for example, for Indians especially, is another myth. We are not taking enough butter, ghee, coconut oil. We're constantly using sunscreens. Basically, we are blocking that vitamin D entering in. Calcium, sources of calcium. Why are we taking it through milk? Milk is not required again. Your meat, eggs, yolk are enough to supply all your vitamins and minerals. And it is very, very clean and clear when you have a clear skin. So I tell people when your skin is showing up clean and clear, it simply means your internals are clean and clear. It's not about addition to your food. It's always about subtraction. Try to eliminate as much as possible the wrong stuff and eat only the right stuff. It will give you everything that is required. Our ancestors never ate supplements. They only ate animal meat, getting all vitamins. And they used to go on a very extended fast if they would not get food for days together. So where was that energy coming from? From the food that they have eaten, that they have stored. Today, we are only storing, not using. And yet we are being told to go and do calorie deficit. Calorie deficit is never going to work because calorie in is going to be dependent on your calorie out. Your body is not stupid. It's not going to expend more than you are eating. Why should it? It needs to take care of the organs. It needs to make those organs survive. The primary function of your body is to make organs survive, not for you to lose weight. You have gained the weight because of the wrong foods that you are eating. So carnivore diet is not something you do right away. It's always through progression of low carb to keto and then to a carnivore. Again, a carnivore diet is a personal choice. It's not something that will suit everybody, not something that everybody should do. But yes, if you can keep it at a low carb, include 70 to 80% of good protein and fats through animal meats, yolks, and your butter, ghee, and try to keep the low carb with maybe like 50 grams of veggies and stuff like that, not a problem.
True, true. I think there's a lot of information here with a lot of people who want to actually try, because there are
Yes,
many people I feel they want to, but they're really
yes,
scared to do that.
yes. And also, ma'am, they are scared because there is a lot of peer pressure also happening.
Yes.
So a lot of people. So the other day, my husband had visited a, a session where he met two individuals. Now, one individual came up to him and said, "Nazim, you've lost a lot of weight and you're looking very thin and very lean. What is it that you're doing?" So he said, Nazim told him that I'm doing a carnivore diet. I just eat meat and eggs, and I just eat it one time a day when I'm hungry. I only eat when I'm hungry, and I eat until I'm full. And the gentleman said, "Oh, and how old are you?" So my husband said, "I'm 49." So this gentleman said, "Look at me. I've got a big fat belly. I'm 48. And look at you. So how is it that you're doing this? And isn't this carnivore thing very unhealthy for you? Because you're not supposed to be eating so much of meat." So there was this other lady who was right next to him, and that lady said to him, "But yeah, that's not right. It's not good that you're eating so much wheat, and I'm vegan." So and she was triple their size. Nazim actually came home and explained to me how fat she was. Sorry, I'm not fat shaming anybody. I'm just trying to explain this to you. And Nazim said the only simple answer I gave them was, "Sir, you are eating a standard Indian diet. I am a carnivore, and the lady here is a vegan. Now, if I have to answer this question, and if you just look at three of us, you will get your answer. Why am I healthy? It's basically because I'm eating everything as per my body's physiology." So veganism again is a scam. I don't know what kind of a planet they want to save. I'm not sure where this is coming from. And now it is emerging on a crazy scale. I see
Right.
Starbucks having vegan coffee. I mean, it's just a marketing gimmick. They just want to sell you corn and soy in the emotional drama.
True. I think most of the advertisements or most of the things in food industry have been for that. If we
Correct.
really look at the past also,
Yes,
how
ma'am.
healthy fats had been stopped and a lot of trans fat and hydrogenated
Has
fat.
been introduced.
Yeah. So all this has been basically with the idea of not improving health, but probably just making profit. So that's
Yes, ma'am.
definitely a sad part which still continues.
Yes.
I would also love you to share a couple of successful transformation stories, maybe briefly.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, which
So,
would be enriching for our viewers.
yes. So I remember I had one of my Bibling jewelry clients, and she was overweight. Yes, she was struggling because she wanted to conceive a baby, and it was not happening. And I remember I said at that time I was not doing consultation on a professional basis. I was only kind of trying to give a little tips and points to people where I would feel happy about if somebody would use those, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember she asked me what am I doing and stuff, and I explained to her about intermittent fasting. I made her read a couple of things, and she said, I'm going to try it, Meg. And I said, you know what, maybe this is really going to help you in conception. I remember she was 89 kgs at that point. She's a type 1 diabetic, and she was taking 25 units of insulin 3 times a day.
Wow.
So I'm sorry, I take that back. She was a type 2 diabetic, and she was taking 25 units of insulin 3 times a day.
Okay.
And she had gained tremendous amount of weight, and because of that she was not able to conceive, and her doctor did tell her that you need to control your weight, not telling her that the insulin is the fat storage hormone. Right. So she came up to me, and I put her on a 16/8 fasting, and within about a period of 9 months she lost 21 kgs. She came up to 68, and today she's not on any insulin at all, zero insulin. She's
That's
skinny like a model.
Transformation, yeah.
Yes, yes. So till today, and I remember this was my first transformation that happened. It made me so happy because it actually works on people. So if you just try to understand and keep an open mind, things will happen. Another thyroid patient, I remember her numbers were around 7.8 or something, and I remember putting her on intermittent fasting. Very emotional girl, young girl at 23. You know how it is with hormonal imbalances. She's been to possibly every dietitian, and the last message that she sent me was, ma'am, my numbers are 1.9 and I'm so happy. She said, so these are real stories. What we see on social media is what they want us to see, but what we see in real life are these kind of stories. So hence I always post testimonials of people, and my focus is never the weighing scale. I have never told anybody step on the weighing scale. I've always asked people, how do you feel? That is important.
True, very right. I think that is itself a marker, as you said, high energy levels, feeling better,
yes, ma'am.
looking
yes,
better, the skin quality better.
Yes, yes.
These are all the other, because I feel a lot of people do get stuck up on the weighing scale. You know, they are obsessed with.
Oh, yes, obsessed. Yes, but they don't see the factors which going into putting on that weight. There is sodium involved. There is your menses premenstrual time involved. Your stress level, your sleep. Another factor that is very important is our sleep. We are not realizing if we have a bad sleep, the next day you will always crave the wrong food. It's a cycle. And people are thinking that this is very normal. To crave carbs or to eat every 2 hours is very normal.
Yes.
It's not normal. It's a sign that your body is fighting something. You've not done it well. And so goes for people who say that, oh, you can eat high carbs in the night. It doesn't raise your blood glucose. My friend, your pancreas are going to shut after 7:30 post sunset. That's the time where you need to get more of your sleep hormones activated. So stuffing your face with foods in the night and then thinking you're going to go on this fat diet the next day of calorie deficit, not going to work. Hence, we are facing thyroid, PCOD at very young age today. I have got patients who are 18 and 19 and are PCOD, and I am surprised.
Yes, I think juvenile diabetes is similar. It's on the rise, even obesity.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Obesity is going to be, so obesity is a symptom basically. It's not the cause. It is a symptom that you are doing something wrong. Don't take it as the cause. And you're only treating obesity. Let's treat the main root cause, which is your insulin. So you are becoming fat, not because you're overeating. See, everybody says, oh, you eat too much. That's the reason you put on weight. No, you're eating too much because your cells have become fat and now your cells are not getting nutrition. So it's like this. I tell people, you know, if a child is crying, you are supposed to give it milk. You don't give it Pepsi Cola or Coke because it's a liquid form.
Right.
Till the time you don't give that child milk, that child is going to keep crying. And that is exactly what your body cells are doing. This every 2-hour hunger is not normal. It is a sign that you are not giving me the essential fat and protein, which I cannot make. Give me that and see how I keep quiet for hours. So when
Right.
people tell me you're doing 1 meal a day, oh, you are starvation. I said, I'm not starving. If I was starving, I would not be able to lift double my body weight. My body
Right.
wouldn't support that exercise. I'm eating just what my cells require and only when they demand that food. So eat when you are hungry, eat until you are full, and stop counting calories. There is nothing to count in good food. Your hormones are designed in your body to take care of your satiety. Your leptin will tell you when it's full. Ghrelin will tell you when it's hungry. But we don't listen to those hormones. We are listening to people, to wall clocks, lunch, breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner. We are going berserk on these 3 meals.
True. Very true. I think you have shed light on so many myths which people usually have. It's not that they don't want to change, but
Yes, ma'am.
unfortunately, there are times that they don't get the right advice.
Advice.
Yes. And I think in today's session, you have tried to cover a lot of it through your personal experiences and through the transformation which you facilitated.
Yes, ma'am.
So we will just now move on to Q&A, where we can open viewers to the, if any queries they would like to directly approach.
Yes, sure, ma'am.
Shashiji, are there any questions in the chat box?
No, there are no questions. Arvind Kori has raised a hand. I don't know if he wants to ask. People
Okay.
can ask. I have unmuted everyone. People can ask questions. Someone has asked question here.
Okay.
Just a minute. I'll just come to that. What is the best way to get rid of belly fat, mid waist, and lower visceral fat?
Yes. So
This is a
visceral
question
fat.
from Avinash. Yeah.
So visceral fat, we must understand, is again coming from where? It's coming from the refined sugars, the trans fats, that is all converted to this visceral fat, which collects around your organs, right? So definitely your nutrition needs to be monitored. You need to understand what is it that you're eating and why are these foods converting to these fats. Coming to exercise, yes, exercise will definitely aid you in using up the stored fat. So correct nutrition with the right kind of input or right kind of information on how you can use fats and proteins. Basically, also another factor in visceral fat is your cortisol levels. So cortisol is a stress hormone, and the higher your cortisol, the more it's going to start collecting that fat in that area. So I always tell people your stress is around your belly. Let go of your stress, do meditation, and get into the right nutrition, correct your foods, correct your sleep. Major repair and weight loss does not happen in the day. Major weight loss happens in the night through repair and rest.
Yeah. Does non-veg food contribute to pollution in our planet? Is the question.
I don't see why and how, sir. Our ancestors have been thriving on meat. Life, there is a circle of life and death, and that's what we've been following for zillions of years now. So I don't see where there are a lot of other factors that are contributing to pollution, and we are not looking at those, but we're always blaming meat.
Let me take up the question. Actually, this
Yes,
is a
sir,
narrative.
please.
This is a narrative which has come actually from a group of people called vegans,
Yeah.
and they are coming up with some false data. If you really see burning of the fossil fuel or the petroleum, petrol, diesel, these are the biggest cause of pollution. Secondly, what these guys are heading is they want to replace the meat with fake meat, which is
Yes, sir.
produced in industries and transported thousands of miles, and these are the one which are causing pollution. And
Yes.
instead of that, they are trying to create a new market in the name of pollution. So this is totally humbug and fake. Real
Absolutely.
data, real genuine data will actually show the cause is is the burning of fossil fuel,
Fossil.
which is the biggest cause. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I am a pure vegetarian. What should be the best source of protein, and what will be sufficient? Yeah, this is one more question.
So, what is the best source of protein for a vegetarian? Would definitely be paneer. Whey protein is another way I can say that you could take. But yes, if it's a vegetarian, then it's going to be paneer. I will not say dal is protein. Dal is not protein. It's a myth. Dal has got carbohydrates, so that is something. And again, dal has got other factors that are not contributing to health.
Yeah,
So
so
it's going to
to
be
add to
definitely
it,
first
it is
class.
paneer, it is cheese,
Yes, cheese.
it is curds or yogurt where you drain out the liquid.
The glucose and yes,
So this can be, and whey protein is a good addition. Yeah, it is also
yes,
said
sir.
that carbs are important for our body. There's a question from Zara.
Yes, Zara. So
Carb.
absolutely not. Carbs are not important for your body. The only requirement for your body is 4 grams of glucose, which your body will provide, your liver will provide through gluconeogenesis, through your fats and proteins. So carbs are not required for a human body. Glucose is required for a human body, which is generated from fats and proteins.
What is the best time to eat carbs and how much of it, Zara?
There is no time to eat carbs. Something that your body can already make, which is glucose, is not required to take exogenously or from external sources. Your body will use fat and protein to make that required glucose. What kind of carbs? If you're going to be on low carb, then yes, your veggies could be a great addition if you would like to stay on low carb, but that's about it. I wouldn't want to ever say to eat grains or things like rice or bread or any of those. Absolutely not required.
And let me just add to it that if we
Sure.
really refer to the textbook, classical textbook, none of them will essentially show that even glucose or carbs are essential nutrient. That means
Yes, sir.
we don't need to ingest them externally, whereas certain amino acid, fatty acid, micronutrients like minerals and vitamins are essential. Though this is not an essential nutrient, so as even fiber
As
is
such.
not termed as
Essential.
essential nutrient in any of the classical textbooks.
Absolutely correct, sir. I totally agree
Yeah.
with you, sir.
So Zara has again put a question: what's LDL and HDL?
So LDL, HDL, I think we would do another session maybe on that because that's going to be pretty deep. But yes, these are molecules that are carrying your required nutrients from the fat cells to the other cells, basically transportation. That's the job of HDL and LDL. Just to understand that, I think it is going to be another deeper session. But yes, Zara, I will explain this definitely to you even on a personal chat.
Any more questions? I cannot see any question in the chat box. People can unmute and ask if they want. So there's one more question here. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Shashi, can I ask a question, please?
हाँ sir, always sir. बोलिए.
Okay, Mahek, I am as old as your mother is, and I'm also having a lot of trouble with constipation. I'm on LCHF for the last 4 years, but I tend to cheat once in a while. Once in a while is once a week. On a Sunday morning breakfast with my friends, I have a lot of carbs. But I have this constipation problem, which I was under the impression that is because of the medications that I take. I take a lot of supplements, like folic acid, like the ones that we have, magnesium I have. I have K8, K2 and K the same. So I was under the impression that it's the medications which cause constipation. But if you say your mother is free of constipation by the food, I'm also, I'm a total non-vegetarian. But like I said, as all Indians are once in a while, and a South Indian, I like to eat some rice once in a while.
Yes.
So some rice is 1 tablespoon or maybe 1.5 tablespoon.
Yes. So if your body can take it, absolutely not a problem.
So I felt, there has to be something to Shashi told me to try this B1.
Did you try?
Yes, I'm trying it for the last 1 week. It has definitely improved things, but it is
so
adding
even ghee water helps.
Sorry?
Ghee water. So first thing in the morning, you have a very hot glass of water and you add a spoon of ghee in it. And I have done that with very many people and it has helped.
Okay, I'll try that.
Yes, sir.
I'll try that. Yeah, okay. Shashi, but that B1 has improved things, but not really to the extent that I would like to.
How
But
much you're
actually,
taking?
I take 1 cap a day.
Make it twice a day.
Okay. Okay.
And try this, what Mehak has told.
Ghee
Yeah,
water.
this is something I have given to a lot of people, and before I get them on magnesium citrate, I get them on ghee water, and many of them have solved this problem.
Okay. Okay. Because, to solve this fiber thing issue, I tend to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
fruits. I have berries mainly, strawberries,
Okay.
or maybe
that's fine.
low sugar fruits
Low
like
GI,
guava,
yeah,
guava and things like that,
seasonal.
Strawberry, guavas, and okay, I'll admit it, a banana once in a while. That's chori, but what to do?
थोड़ा थोड़ा करके सब ऐड हो गया.
थोड़ा थोड़ा करके सब ऐड हो गया. हाँ, थोड़ा
Yeah,
स्वीट भी खा लेता हूँ.
Yeah, if I can add to this, first
Sure.
thing very important is hydration.
Yeah.
You understand that constipation is basically your body, if it is not getting requisite amount of water, it will draw up from stool.
Yes.
So be hydrated, push the limit to around 4 liters a day, and then see if
Oh,
it makes a
God.
difference.
Anup, but I have about 2.5, 3 liters of water a day.
2.5 is less, push it to 4.
Yes.
I'm telling you from personal experience.
Okay.
Basically, all of us are, we observe things very critically. So stool consistency and water intake, I've done a lot of tests. The moment I reach 5 liters a day, stool is almost, like it's almost nearing around loose motion stage. So at 4 liters, I'm very comfortable, no constipation, nothing. Because ultimately you are try to understand that constipation is because your body is not getting requisite amount of water from external source. So it is drawing up whatever is left for it to draw from stool. And that is why you get, hard stools and so-called constipation.
And these are signs that your body is telling us that we are doing something wrong. So, but they're just ignoring it.
It's a case of, body facing drought.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anup. But Mike, I must say you're very lucid. You're very lucid and you explain things quite well. I'm impressed.
Thank you, sir. This comes from my mother because she's a teacher.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Good. Good. Shashi, thank you once again for organizing these podcasts. They are very, very useful.
Welcome.
And very motivating.
I think it is, for personally, I'll say it is very power packed. Power packed session, and she's very charged up and very emotional about it.
Yes, she is.
There's a question from Carol, whether no carb diet. My question is whether no carb diet during menopause. I mean, I think she's asking whether you can take no carb diet or carnivore, whatever it is, during menopause. Yeah.
Absolutely, there is no issue with that. Why would your body require extra glucose in the times of menopause? And if it requires, you're any which way eating it from fat and protein. See, the problem is what kind of carbs are we talking about? When we say yes to carbs, then we are going and gorging on everything. We are not understanding what are the right carbs.
Correct.
So if somebody says yes to fruit, there are platters of fruit. Arey baba, fruit khao, no problem. Ek fruit khao. And then we make variants of fruits also. Fruit juice, fruit smoothie. Where is the main purpose of that fruit gone?
And I think, are there any more questions, or we can wind up? So I think we can wind up now.
Yeah, I think.
Thank you, Pramila ma'am.
Sure. And I think if anybody has any queries, they can still, connect with Mehak, Shashiji, or any of us through personal chat. We would definitely be there to help you with any queries. But I think today's session has been quite enriching, with a lot of myths busted, especially with carbs, protein, and healthy fats. And I think we have covered almost all the paradigms of optimal nutrition. So thank you, Mehak, for coming into the session and sharing a lot of motivational and transformational stories. And I'm sure everybody here today is taking away something which they've not known before.
Yes.
Thank you once again, Anup,
you.
Shashiji, and D-Life for making this happen on a regular basis.
Thank you, everyone, each and everyone from D-Life for giving me this opportunity. And if there's any more that I can do on any other topic that I can be of help, please feel free to invite me.